This is Dale Wetzel. I'm the host of the Legislature today, and we are coming to you from the Peacock Alley American Bar and Grill in downtown Bismarck, and the joint is jumping. There's a good crowd tonight, and they're making a lot of noise, which you can probably hear over the broadcast, which is a good thing because we like ambient noise here at the Legislature today. This is the Credit Union Association of the Dakotas sponsored hour of our show, and we're going to be talking about CU on the road. CU is, it's when I speak it, you need to know that there's a C and a U rather than the word CU, and CU, of course, stands for Credit Union. And we're going to be talking about that effort here shortly. We have with us this evening Ms. Caitlin Hardy. She is a information specialist and initiative specialist for the Credit Union Association of the Dakotas, and we have Christy Wolf, Director of Strategic Initiatives for the Credit Union Association of the Dakotas, and we also have Senator Kelly Armstrong, a Republican from Dickinson, and we're going to be speaking to him about a few legislative matters. First of all, let's talk a bit about what the legislature has been doing today. The Senate approved a bill to overhaul North Dakota's oil tax, reduce the top rate from 11.5% to 9.5% starting in January of 2017. Republican supporters of this tax decrease said that it would help make the North Dakota's oil tax climate a bit more stable, because under the current tax structure, if oil prices were to drop precipitously, there would be a chance that the state oil tax rate would drop as well from 11.5% to 5%, and that is an eventuality that would be avoided if this bill is approved in its current form. This idea has a number of Democratic critics, and what they believe is that this is essentially a massive multi-billion-dollar giveaway to the oil companies in the long term, and that the state of North Dakota should be collecting this revenue rather than providing a tax cut, at least at this point. And they also are a bit dubious about the benefits of getting rid of some of the price triggers that would, at least in theory, make it possible for the oil tax rate to go from 11.5% to 5%. They believe that that's such a remote possibility at this point that it almost isn't worth bothering with in terms of influencing the debate. There is also, in the North Dakota House, there was something that will affect every North Dakota voter if this does come through, and that is it is a bill to require voters to bring identification to the polls, either a photo ID or some kind of state-issued ID, or an ID that the Secretary of State would deem to be sufficient to identify yourself as a voter living at a certain address. And I'm really excited to find out if one of these IDs is like a concealed weapons permit or something more exotic than a driver's license. Right now in North Dakota, you can go to the polls without ID and vote if you sign an affidavit that promises to the election officials that you are eligible to vote in this particular election, and that you are who you say you are, and that you're eligible to vote in this location. According to this bill would get rid of that affidavit option. A voter would have to come to the polls with an ID. And if someone didn't have an ID, they could get a non-photo ID for free from the State Department of Transportation. There is also one other item that we're going to speak to Senator Armstrong about. It has to do with the budget bill for the State Board of Higher Education in the North Dakota University system. That budget, in one of the amendments that was proposed for that budget, was a proposal to buy out or provide the money to buy out the employment contract of the university system chancellor. His name is Ham Shirvani. Dr. Shirvani has been chancellor since last July. He has a 3-year contract that pays him $349,000 a year. He's been in the job for about 7 months, and there are some folks who are dissatisfied with his performance. They say that he is insufficiently consultative and that he is a bit too aggressive in pushing for changes for their taste. and there have been some calls for his ouster, including one from the North Dakota Student Association, which said recently in a resolution that they supported buying out the chancellor's contract. This was put to a vote in the Senate today, and the vote was 23 yes and 24 no. So it's about as close as you can get. And so this subject, frankly, could come up in the House. I don't think that it's a dead letter yet. And Senator Armstrong, how did you vote on the question of whether or not to provide money to buy out the chancellor's contract?
I voted for it.
And why is that?
Well, one of the reasons I voted for it is because in order for the state, if the State Board of Higher Ed would want to act on that issue, they have to have the authorization to do it. And two, I guess just more generally and philosophically about this entire issue, and I'm not even sure it's Mr. Schiavone's fault in its entirety. I think higher ed, I think it's obvious that higher ed has had a lot of problems for many years, and it doesn't seem to me, as somebody who's new here, that we ever do enough to try and fix it.
And what should we do to try to fix it, in your judgment? Have any ideas along those lines?
I know there's a lot of ideas about, and I should say I am not an entire expert on this issue, but I would say that the conflict between the Board of Higher Ed, the Chancellor, the university systems is something that has been percolating and getting worse over the years and not better. And one of the flip sides to that argument is it seems like every year a lot of these issues get addressed, and then we fund them at 120% of what we did the biennium before, and that seems to rub me the wrong way, primarily being from Dickinson and dealing with one of these serious issues. I don't blame necessarily anybody individually, but I think there are some serious issues in higher ed, and I don't think we ever do enough to address them.
One thing I should add is that the Board of Higher Education has expressed its support for the Chancellor, although there is one exception, and that is the student representative on the board who says that he's going to raise this issue at the board's next meeting in early March because of the Student Association's desire that Chancellor Schiavone's contract be bought out. I did speak to Chancellor Schiavone after the vote. He was driving to Fargo at the time, and he said that he was humbled by the vote that denied this permission to buy out his contract, and also that he was just going to continue his job, continue working, and he says that he's doing what the Board of Higher Education wants him to do, and he said that this is another day in the life, and that was pretty much the sum of what he said. He hasn't, I asked him on the Legislature Today show last night if he was intended to resign or if he thought about it. He said no, and he also would not comment about the Student Association resolution. And we will see how this plays out, because there are, I'm sure, some people in the North Dakota House who are sharpening their knives for the Chancellor. And also he has some rather stalwart defenders in the House, and so this will continue. I'm quite confident of that. In the meantime, we would like to get into our subject, the Credit Union Association of the Dakotas. You have the CU Tour. And let's talk about this. We have with us, I'll just reiterate, Christy Wolf, a Director of Strategic Initiatives at the Credit Union Association of the Dakotas, and Ms. Caitlin Hardy, who is a specialist at the Credit Union Association of the Dakotas. I'd be more specific about your title, Ms. Hardy, except I can't read my own handwriting. So please forgive me for that. So tell us about this CU Tour and how it came to be.
Well, we did some research and just kind of found out that people really weren't aware of what credit unions were, actually that they even existed. So what we decided to do is we're on a 2-state road tour, and we're talking about the benefits of credit unions and doing different events at different locations. We've done coffee shop stops, doing a lot of community events, and we're handing out information, we're dispelling myths, and just talking about all the great things that credit unions can do and have done for people. And we're also getting stories of members. We've got some great stories on the road. That's one of my favorite parts about the road tour, is actually talking to members and hearing their stories.
Could you talk about some of the, I guess I'd call them some of the funnier misconceptions or myths that that you've heard? I mean, does anyone say to you, are you a labor union? Or
We get all kinds of things. A lot of people, probably the most common thing we hear is, I can't qualify for a credit card. They associate credit union and credit card with the same thing. Although credit unions do offer credit cards, it's not just a credit card. That's probably the most common myth that we hear. A lot of other people still believe that you have to be part of some employee group. They're not aware of community credit unions, or that you can just, live, work, or worship within a community. That's a very, very common one. Another one is that credit unions only offer savings, or that they only offer loans, that they don't offer checking and ATM and online banking and all the other services that other financial institutions have. So, the myths across the board, there's so many of them, and every time we go out, it seems like we get all of them. We get asked all those questions.
I want to talk about the car. There's a picture of a car, and it's got a really snazzy paint job. It says "CU" on the side. And was it actually painted, or was it like wrapped in plastic, or what? How did that work? And what kind of car is it?
It is a Dodge Journey.
Outstanding.
And yes, it's wrapped. It's a vinyl wrapped car. And let me tell you, that gets more attention than anything that we do. I think we get people talk about that car. We were actually at a burger joint once, and the guy came from behind the counter and said, "What's with the vehicle out there? Can I ask you?" And we had our "See You on the Road" shirts on, so it was just a perfect opportunity for us to have that conversation.
Are you Ms. Hardy? Do you have to be careful where you go in a car like that?
Yeah, actually, we have to end up fighting for some parking spots when we go places. We're trying to get the front seats, or the front spot, so that people actually see it and talk about it and notice us. So, yeah, we've been to coffee shops, we've been to chocolate shops, we've been to all these different places, and that's the first thing that people ask is, what in the heck is going on with that car?
Do they think you work for a radio station or something? Do they associate it right away with credit unions?
No, people ask, but no one's ever said we've worked for a radio station.
I was just thinking about people that drive around, as a matter of course, in very loudly painted vehicles, and that was the first thing that came to mind.
It does tend to be, yeah. No, we haven't had that.
So how did you choose the route that you're following?
During the first year of the campaign, we're actually just in April going to be starting the second year of the campaign. Mm-hmm. During the first year, what we did is we divided North and South Dakota into, western, eastern quadrants, and we did each quadrant and kind of hit some major cities. This year, we've kind of put it in the hands of our credit unions a little more. We've sent out and said, what are events in your community? What are things that you think we should be at? We also looked at, we go to the state fair every year, some of the major events in each of the states. And so we've Caitlin and I have planned out a calendar, and we're still working on finalizing it. But we're going all over. We're going to be doing a lot of miles this next year.
How many miles did you do your first year, and where did you go?
I couldn't tell you how many miles we did. We were in Fargo, Grand Forks, Devil's Lake, Sioux Falls, Rapid City, Watertown. We did 3 of the 4 quadrants this first quarter. Now we're doing like Bismarck, Minot, Dickinson. So we've got some things coming up in those shortly.
We're kind of in all the little spaces in between, too. All the little towns are important to us, too.
And how do you decide where to go? Do you have to be invited by a local credit union, or what is it? How does this work?
No, we kind of sat down. A lot of the things we asked our credit unions, is there things you'd like us to be at? But Caitlin sat down, and she can kind of tell you, she kind of started to research.
Yeah, I just looked there's online. I asked people around the communities. I'm not from I'm from Montana, so I didn't really know what little events were going on. But
we'll forgive you for being from Montana.
Okay, just this once. No, but we did sit down and talk about it. And do we have to be invited? No. Do we want to be? Yes.
I was just thinking about if that was a factor in determining where you went.
We have actually gotten way more than I thought we would from credit unions saying, yes, please be at our event. We want that kind of, people talking, and we help out with their events, and we're just there to kind of make them do their jobs better, and they make us do our job better. So.
Do you do a lot of parades?
Yeah.
We didn't do a lot last year, but this year we're doing a lot.
Yeah.
Do you do? I'm familiar with the political world where people go to things like the Sauerkraut Festival in Wishick, and there's all sorts of in the Hoosfest, and there's all sorts of community events that aren't necessarily linked to credit unions, but they're big public events. And It's probably a cool thing to be seen at. Is that one of your factors as well?
Absolutely. Those are some of our favorite events to be at. Anything from car shows to, I was born in Elgin, so we have to, hit that neck of the woods definitely this year, but we want to be in those little towns, whether it be a credit union open house or it be the, celebration days for a community. We want to be at all those.
Right. And people might not associate us with, these little events or Who's Fest and all that kind of stuff, but financial decisions are a part of everybody's life. So to be at those little town things, it's perfect for people to know what we do.
And, okay, you roll into town. How does a typical visit go? And what objectives are you looking to accomplish when you arrive?
We don't really have a typical visit. It really depends on the event. It depends on. We just did an open house at a credit union in Enderlin. They just opened a new branch, and we just went in and we helped them that day. We helped serve tacos, and we may go to a parade. And just drive the car through the parade, or we went to a car show in Aberdeen, South Dakota last summer, and we actually filled the car with balloons, and we had people guess how many balloons were in the car and hand it out. And everywhere we go, we have information, especially if it's a community event. We have a list of credit unions in the entire state. We have information, we have brochures that we hand out that talk about the benefits of credit unions. And then we also direct people to our online resources. We have Facebook and Twitter and great website.
Do people want to drive the car or ride in the car? And do you let them?
People want to win the car all the time.
Oh, okay.
They're like, if I guess how many balloons are in the car, do I win the car? And we're like, no, we need to get home. So people really want to win the car.
And what do you tell people that want to win the car that you? How do you break it to them that they can't win the car?
It's our ride home.
Absolutely, it's our ride home. And then we tell them that if we have a prize that we're giving away, we tell them we're giving away a gift card. But
I was just thinking, does anybody want to drive the car? I think it'd be an excellent way to meet people.
Oh yeah, I'm sure they do. My little sister, I pulled up in that one day to my house to grab something, and she just came out and she was, "What is that? And can I drive it?"
She probably did. You think you were the Publishers Clearinghouse sweepstakes or something?
She's like, "What advertising company is at our house right now?"
Do you go to schools?
We haven't went to schools, but that's definitely something that we're looking at, tying more financial literacy into this program. Not only that, but the other thing that we're really looking at this year is charity events. We want to be at walks and things like that. But yeah, we will go just about anywhere.
And when people ask you about credit unions, what is it that what is the message that you try to convey when you're rolling into town, you're set up, people are coming up? What is it what's your pitch to them? What is it that you want to tell them?
More than anything, we want to, first of all, answer any questions they may have. But our really big message is the next time you need something, whether it be a loan, checking, your son or daughter needs a place for their financial services when they're graduating, just know that credit unions are there and that they're a choice and that they offer all the same services as other financial institutions. That's really the message that we're portraying, that we're there.
Yeah, we're an option.
Do you worry about getting keyed by the local bankers?
I hope not.
I'm getting the sense that Dale is obsessed with this car. There needs to be a second CU car that Dale can tool around.
They're just jealous that
I
we
want to
have
drive
a
car.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, was that the driving the car question? Was that directed maybe possibly towards you driving the car?
Well, that's okay. I don't need to drive the car, but I'd like to ride in the car.
There you go.
We can probably arrange that.
Okay. Well,
where are you ladies from, by the way? Are you? I'm kind of curious if you're North Dakota. You say you're Montana, right?
Yeah.
Where are you from in Montana, Caitlin?
Eastern Montana, a tiny little town called Fairview.
Fairview? Well, we know where Fairview is. That's close enough to North Dakota to be considered in North Dakota.
There you go. I'm actually live in North Dakota and went to school in Montana, but...
Yeah, well, and Caitlin was telling us just the other day they just got their first stoplight in her town.
Yes, they did.
Really?
Yeah.
Big day.
How much has oil development affected the growth of your hometown?
Very much so. We're right next to Williston, right next to the Bakken, like right in the middle. I'd say almost the heart of it.
How's it changed?
We got a stoplight, so that's kind of a big deal. And then just like the whole function of the town. I mean, it's so much busier. There's so much traffic. You can't get to school in a minute. It takes 5 minutes to get to school now.
Do you see a lot of people that you don't recognize?
Yes, it's so weird because grow up knowing everyone, and now you don't.
Christy, where are you from?
Well, I'm really a Bismarck girl, but I was born in Elgin, North Dakota, so
How about that?
that's where my roots are.
What's the best thing about Elgin?
My grandparents.
There you go. All those great memories going back to see your grandparents,
Oh,
huh?
absolutely, absolutely.
Are they still with us?
Yeah, I have one grandfather that passed away 3 years ago, but all my other grandparents are still with us.
How did you two ladies get the jobs that you have now, and how long have you been in it?
Well, I just started actually in January, and I'm going to be a graduate from the University of Mary.
Okay.
So my last semester is an internship semester. So they kind of hooked me up with Christy, and ever since then it's been really awesome. She's a really good boss. I don't have any complaints.
What's your major at Mary?
Mass communications.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how did you get the job that you have, Ms. Wolf?
Well, I've been with the association just over 5 years, and so I've actually been in the marketing world for quite a while, and took the job with Credit Union Association. I love association life. And
You mentioned the marketing world. Where else have you worked in the marketing world?
I actually worked for the Canola Growers Association for a while. That was a wonderful job. I worked at an ad agency here in town, and I also worked at it was a Native American-owned marketing company that moved to South Dakota now, so that's why I don't work there anymore.
What is the weirdest myth you've heard about credit unions? Something that really took you back.
I don't know if there's anything that really took me back, honestly. The only thing that really was I had a lady in South Dakota tell me that there wasn't a teacher's credit union in Aberdeen, so she was still at her credit union, I want to say in Utah, just because she didn't realize there was community credit union. But I guess I don't know that that's weird, but...
Oh, it's not necessarily weird. It's interesting. We're speaking to Christy Wolf, the Director of Strategic Initiatives at the Credit Union Association of the Dakotas, and Caitlin Hardy, a Strategic Initiative Specialist at the Credit Union Association of the Dakotas. And this is the Credit Union Association of the Dakotas Hour on the Legislature today. And we will be back in a moment to continue our discussion of an initiative that these two ladies are taking part in to raise community awareness about credit unions and what they can do for their customers.
Maybe some research on how that car came to be, right?
Absolutely, yes.
We'll have another guest join us after the short break here from the Legislature today. Headquarters Monday through Thursday night, the Peacock Alley American Grill and Bar, the National Cattlemen's Association Beef Innovator of the Year. More after this time out. Don't go away.
Welcome back to the Legislature today. My name is Dale Wetzel. We're broadcasting from the Peacock Alley American Bar and Grill in downtown Bismarck. This is the Credit Union Association of the Dakotas Hour. We are with Caitlin Hardy, Strategic Initiative Specialist for the Credit Union Association of the Dakotas, and Christy Wolf, the Director of Strategic Initiatives for the same organization. And welcome, ladies. And first of all, I understand, Ms. Hardy, that you have a fairly significant social media presence to promote the CU on the Road tour. Oh, excuse me. If you'll pardon me for just a moment, Ms. Hardy. We also have with us. I'm stupid. I did not mention this before, and I should have. We have our co-host, Mr. Scott Hennon. And Scott, I know that you're over there just dying to talk about the specials tonight at the Peacock Alley American Bar Grill, and I'm really clumsy in leading into that, but
that's quite all right.
It's
Teeny Tuesday. Maybe you had a teeny or two.
Maybe I wish I could blame it on that, but if I could say I was drunk, I certainly would. But
you're too darn busy to have imbibe any beverages.
I'm just too confused.
I brought Dale a water a long time ago, and he has not even touched it.
Well, I'm into this bottled stuff.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anyway, it is Teeny Tuesday at the Peacock Alley, 2-for-1 martinis, and also until 10 o'clock tonight, $2 off all appetizers. So that's a big special. If you can't make it tonight, tomorrow night, Wine Down Wednesday, half price, bottles of wine all day. So maybe it's,
I need one.
Yeah, the lunchtime
I need two.
bottle of wine at the Peacock tomorrow if it's been a tough day in the legislative session. So invite you to join us this hour of the program, brought to you by the Credit Union Association of the Dakotas. We're live at the Peacock Alley American Grill and Bar. Dale, back to you, and we have a guest on the phone as well joining the ladies.
Caitlin Hardy, I understand that the Credit Union Association of the Dakotas has quite an impressive social media presence in terms of promoting this See You on the Road, and could you talk about that for a moment for us?
Yeah, well, you can visit us online. We've got a website. We've got Facebook and Twitter. We're at www.seeyouontheroad.org. And then on Facebook, we're facebook.com/seeyouontheroad. And then on Twitter, we're at seeyouontheroad DAC, D-A-K.
And just so that we're clear, CU is the letters CU. They're not the words
Right.
CU.
Right.
And who does the tweets when you're out on the road or when you're promoting this?
Well, right now I just sent a tweet, actually. I just
Outstanding.
sent a Facebook post. And so we really update you on exactly what we're doing when we're doing it. We're very, we just go out there and tell people exactly what we're doing so they can join in and have some fun with us.
I thought it was the talking car, actually.
Well, I
did the tweets.
Well, I was thinking what the tweet probably says is, we're on the radio being questioned by some idiot.
No.
We wanted to, Ms. Wolf, you have I understand some quite excellent stories about people, how they came to be in a credit union and what a credit union has meant to them. And frankly, I've heard some really good ones from legislators, North Dakota legislators who are credit union members. Could you tell us about some of the stories that you've heard, please?
Yeah, absolutely. One of my favorite things about being on the road is actually talking to members and hearing their stories, because there's some stories that are absolutely moving. One of my very favorite, we talked to a gentleman in Fargo last summer, and he had talked about when he was young, he basically made some horrible decisions and pretty much destroyed his life. When he was trying to rebuild his life and get back on his feet, he said he went from financial institution to financial institution, and they turned him away until he walked into a credit union. He said he walked into the credit union, and not only did they not turn him away, but they helped educate him on some of the things he could do to repair his credit. They gave him a chance with a savings and a checking account. Now he is a family man. He has a wife and kids and a home and a car. And he said that he owes all of that to the credit union giving him a chance when he was turning his life around, and that he will be a lifelong credit union member because of that. And it just gave me goosebumps when he was talking about it.
It sounds like he should be a centerpiece of your next advertising campaign.
Absolutely, absolutely. We also talked to a small business owner down in South Dakota, and his story was just phenomenal too. He wanted to start a radio station, and he was working with another financial institution, and he was just getting nowhere. He was kind of getting thrown around from person to person. Just nothing was happening. And someone said, go to a credit union. Just give it a try. And, he had been told that his loan was pretty much impossible. So he goes to the credit union, and he said he actually was offered a job out of state, and him and his wife had driven home from a family event and had a long discussion and said, you know what, the things aren't going through with the loan. Let's uproot our family. Let's do this. Let's just move and take this job. And he said it just so happened when they got home that day, he had a message on the machine from the credit union that said, your loan's a go. Let's do this. And he now has a very successful radio station and is living his dream. And he said he 100% owes that to the credit union. So those stories, when you hear those, they're so moving, and it makes my job easy because the credit union's already doing the work for us. I mean, they're doing phenomenal things every day.
The fact that the credit union is consumer-owned by the customers, and that you have equal voting power, you can run for the board, etc., how much of an appeal does that hold for folks?
To some it does, and I think for some people when we're on the road, I think it's a little hard to, they think, yeah, right, I'm a part owner, I have a voice. I think until they really get into the credit union and see that they do have a voice and that it does matter, I think I kind of get the feeling from people that it's a little hard, to understand. But once they are part of it and they get it, it's a big deal for them. It's a big deal to feel like they're part of it.
I wanted to speak as well. I believe we have on the phone with us Mr. Dan Altenburn with the H2M ad agency in Fargo. Mr. Altenburn, are you there?
We're not hearing Dan, Corey, if he is hooked up. Dan, can you hear us? We'll try one more time. Dan, can you hear us? I'm not hearing it.
I'm sorry.
Unless I'm a little hard of hearing.
I don't have my my miracle ear in tonight.
We'll work on that. You keep chatting with Christy and Caitlin here, and we'll see if we can get Dan on.
But how? I mean, if someone comes up to you and say, "Okay, why should I be in a credit union instead of a bank or some other, some online financial institution? Why should I pick a credit union?" How do you address a question like that?
Well, we do talk about them being a member owner, that, the members do have a say. We also talk about a big thing is that the profits are returned to the members. Credit unions are not for profit. So the profits are returned to the members with lower fees, better rates on loans. And that's a big selling point to people. I mean, anytime you can save money and, that money's coming back to you. So we talk to them about that. We talk to them that they do have all the services. There's online banking. There's, surcharge-free ATM. So we tell them that there's all the convenience, but you also have that voice, and you also have the profits returned to you. So that's really our big, I guess, selling points.
Ms. Hardy, how many followers do you have on Twitter, and how popular is your Facebook site?
Well, right now, our Facebook, we have 137 likes.
Oh, my goodness.
So that's a lot for us. We're trying to get more every day. You do see people, interested in following, commenting on our statuses all the time. On Twitter, we have, about the same following. There's a lot of people that are on Facebook that aren't on Twitter, too, so that's kind of a good way to, tell exactly who's following us. And we can answer questions at any time, and if people post stuff, they usually get an answer within, 12 hours is the most.
Is it tough to keep yourself within 140 characters?
No, actually.
It is for Dale.
Yeah.
So he's.
I grew up.
Shortcomings.
I grew up on 140 characters, so I'm pretty used to it by now.
Okay.
One thing with our website, too, if anybody's interested in actually finding a credit union in their area, on our website, seeyouontheroad.org, we actually have a credit union finder. Mm-hmm. So you can go in, and you can find a credit union anywhere in the United States. So that's a cool feature that we have on our website.
One of the things that was a mystery to me when I first started looking into credit unions was you have to be a member of a particular community or a particular profession. Could you just talk about how that works?
Yeah, there is a credit union for just about anyone out there, but there are, membership. There's different membership fields that you have to be within, but a lot of credit unions now are what are considered community charter credit unions, where you just have to live, work, or worship within a certain area, like, 30 miles of Bismarck or a certain city. So that's the membership requirements.
And how many different, do you know approximately how many different communities of interest you have? I mean, I'm driving down the street, I see Capital Credit Union, I see the Railway Credit Union in Mandan, I see the Hospital Credit Union. How many of those are there, different types of communities of interest?
Well, we've got in the Credit Union Association throughout North Dakota and South Dakota, we have 78 credit unions currently. So, there's credit unions all over. And what's great is they're not only in larger cities, they're in smaller towns. So in some towns, they're the only financial institution that's available. And they've been around for a very long time. And it's cool. I've heard some stories of credit unions that were started in people's basements or in the corner of the farmers union. So it's neat not only talking to members, but it's really awesome talking to credit unions and hearing how they start. There's a credit union that started in a utility closet in a high school here in the Dakotas, and that's how it started out, and now it's a
you know
larger
any
credit
details
union.
about that? How this credit union starting in a utility closet?
It was just a bunch of teachers got together, and they wanted a credit union, and they got together and did what they needed to do, and they literally told us about this little utility janitor's closet and it was like only open over lunch hour, and it was so they started, and I love those are some of my favorite stories because it was just the passion and the power of people coming together and cooperating. I mean, credit unions are cooperatives, coming together and cooperating and joining together.
Where is that particular one?
That one is in South Dakota.
Where in South Dakota?
It is in.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
Yeah, you can put me on the spot. I'm trying to think
sorry.
of exactly which town it's in.
Okay, it's okay. It's in South Dakota. Well, we'll accept that for now. How did you come to work for the association? I mean, was it How did you come to work for the association?
I actually had someone I knew who had told me about the position, and so they told me to apply, and I applied. And
Were you a member of a credit union at the time?
I was. I had actually been a member of Capital Credit Union since I was 16, and when I was little, I was a member of the Elgin Credit Union, and so I'd known about credit unions since I was young.
Ms. Hardy, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but are you a member of a credit union?
I will be, actually. I am currently, signing up in the process of it. So it's exciting. It's a new, chapter in my life. I've got a lot of things to look forward to, paying for my new car and stuff like that. So I'm excited to get it started with a credit union.
So how was it like to borrow money from a credit union?
Actually, they're very supportive, very easy to talk to. They know my name when I walk in the door. That kind of stuff you don't see a lot anymore. And so it's nice, being from a small town, having those small town values in your financial institution, it's perfect.
Do you have a credit union in your hometown?
Not that I know of, because we're so small, but I'm pretty sure there are a couple in Sydney and Williston.
Just got that stoplight deal. That's a lot of pressure
Well,
to have the credit union, too.
I was thinking about the stop. I mean, when the stoplight was installed, was that considered a good thing or a bad thing?
Horrible. I mean, horrible. Everyone hated it. I knew some family members, actually, that flew right through it, didn't even see it at the first day it was up, got an $85 fine, no warnings, just they laid down the law. So,
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
See, personally, I think Bismarck has way too many stoplights.
I agree with you.
And it's, I'd love to live in a town that only had one or none, or, let's just take our chances out there.
Right.
Too, with one of the things that, when we've been talking about credit unions and all the great stories, credit unions are really good at doing things for people. Credit unions are based on the philosophy of people helping people. And when we're out, we hear all these amazing stories of credit unions doing things in their community. But even though credit unions are really great about doing those things, they're really bad at telling people about it. So we've actually also started an online news blog, kind of. It's called CU Social Good. Mm-hmm. And it's a place for credit unions across the entire nation to talk about the good that they've done, to talk about the different organizations that they help, the different people that they help. So it's a really cool way just for credit unions to talk about what they've done, and we're always posting new stories on there and information. And so it's just a great resource that we've gotten.
What sort of community involvement do you undertake? I mean, that kind of plays into the theme of what you're talking about.
Yeah, with credit unions in general just are involved in everything in their community, from different projects, supporting different organizations. I know last year the Credit Union Association, we sponsored some breast cancer walks. When we had the flooding in Bismarck, my boss was very awesome about saying, you know what, let's go out, let's help the community. And he let us go out and just do sandbagging, and so everybody's always doing things.
I understand that we have our advertising gentleman on the phone, Mr. Dan Altenburn of the H2M ad agency in Fargo. Mr. Altenburn, one of the things that we were asking earlier of our guests here, Ms. Caitlin Hardy and Ms. Christy Wolf, is about myths about credit unions and misunderstandings about what they're about. In your research, what sort of, for want of a better term, what sort of weird stuff did you hear about credit unions?
It was kind of similar to what we hear across the country. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you very well, sir. Thank you.
Hi, Christy. Hello, Caitlin.
Hello.
Hi.
We do work with credit unions across the country from Montana to New Jersey, and the story is kind of the same. The awareness of the credit unions out there is so low. And so what we did, and what Christy mentioned before, we worked with the Credit Union Association to do a research project across both states. And she had mentioned, we really did divide each state up to a quadrant, kind of east and west, to get a better understanding. The eastern part of the states might have a different point of view of the western part. And so we really got pinpointed on not only the people that were asking about the questions were going out, and it was just amazing. It was similar to some of the national information going on, but some of the uniqueness that we did find was, on 40% across the board, of consumers out there, 40% of consumers didn't know that credit unions handled mortgages. 40% didn't know that they handled online bill pay. 40% didn't know they offered credit cards or could offer IRAs. It was just consistent out there. What we did find, though, in the smaller communities, probably from a lack of choice, wherever the credit union happened to be, the awareness of credit unions was pretty tight, and they did trust the credit unions. But then you get into the bigger markets like Bismarck and Fargo, Sioux Falls, Rapid City. The awareness of the credit unions of where to even find them was really, it was hard for people to understand the benefits and why they should be doing business with a credit union. And so we had done even focus groups in all the major markets. And it was kind of fun to watch these people kind of turn over because you would start telling them about a credit union and the benefits of that. And their ears would perk up, and you're saying, what do you mean, they're nonprofit? I don't have to be, there isn't a secret handshake to become a member of a credit union. And so that's what people really thought, it was really closed. And that's kind of where the See You on the Road campaign came from. Is like as we started to tell people, the benefits of credit union, why they should be doing it, and the polls across the nation are, once you do business with a credit union, the customer service is so high, people stay there. And so we had the opportunity to talk to people and help them understand, that's where the idea of, let's create for lack of a better term, a vehicle that can get into communities and really kind of have that one-to-one connection with them and continue the message of what we're all trying to convey right now.
So is your idea to have the car?
Yeah, well, that was what we Christy, how'd that go down? We came with about 2 or 3 ideas. Come down.
Yeah, let's hear about these ideas.
and as much as we can talk about the car, the better.
Yes.
Dale is very fond of the car. So, in case you missed that from earlier in the program.
The car came up, it was part of an overall campaign. What happened with the car, though, the initial campaign was, we've been waiting for you. And you might have heard that in some of the commercials that are offering. It's really a testimonial approach where people are kind of really telling their story of why they're doing business with a credit union. And that's the emotional connection that we needed to put out there so people would actually pay attention and we could hopefully make a difference. But what has happened is that car has taken on a life of its own. And so we've got big plans for it this year.
Does it have a name? Does it have a name? What's the car's name? Does it have a name?
We're unveiling it, actually.
Yes.
It's coming up soon.
Yes, we can. So
Okay.
on March 18th, we will be unveiling the car's name. So
boy.
you're getting a little
You
bit of
have a
inside
scoop
information
here.
there. Yeah.
We'll let you be the first to know.
Like a true journalist, he went right for the jugular there for the closely held secret.
It does to us, but maybe not to everyone yet.
Mr. Altenburn, could you just talk about the nature of your research, how you did it?
Well, it was statistically valid. It was 95% statistically valid, and we went across, both states. It was a phone survey, and that's the best way that we can get but unaided. So we dialed up. It takes a lot of phone calls to get to an accuracy rate of what we were comfortable with, so 95% accuracy. But we wanted to be able to pull every part of the state, from the small towns to the big metro areas. And then what we did is break that information down into particular sectors. So we had a really good idea of how, like we had said, how each quadrant, how the western part of the state really viewed the eastern part. It took about 3 to 4 weeks to be able to compile all the results. But really what did come back, Christy and Caitlin, you can probably attest to this, it really wasn't a surprise of the information came back. It was kind of our gut feeling, but you need to be able to do the research so you can really support your view. And that's what kind of drove the whole campaign, and now we're in the second year of our initiative.
And how long did it take to do this research? Approximately how long?
It was about 3 to 4. It was about a full month, to be able to put the questions together, and we worked with the association with that, the questions together. And, depending on a certain person's answer, it would take them down a certain path. But at no time did they know that it was a credit union association calling them. We needed to have a really unskewed view as far as how people felt about financial institutions as a whole. And then we would start to mix in, towards the end of the survey, we would start to ask them more pinpointed questions about credit unions versus banks. And that's when you kind of get to the heart of the matter. And then at the end of the survey, you actually say, well, thank you. We're calling on behalf of the Credit Union Association. Thanks for taking that time. And that's how we go through the process to be able to understand the next steps.
Well, we've been speaking this evening with Mr. Dan Altenburn, whose voice you just heard. He is with the H2M ad agency in Fargo, North Dakota. We've also been speaking with Caitlin Hardy, a strategic specialist for the Credit Union Association of the Dakotas. Also with Ms. Christy Wolf, the Director of Strategic Initiatives at the Credit Union Association of the Dakotas. And this has been the Credit Union Association of the Dakotas Hour on the Legislature today. Oh, surprise, surprise. And we've had a great time talking about the We've Been Waiting for You campaign and the See You on the Road campaign, which involves a wonderfully vinyl-wrapped vehicle that's going to be probably coming to a town near you this summertime. Thank you very much, ladies, for coming.
Thank you for having us.
Yes.
And thanks for listening to the Legislature today. We'll do it all over again tomorrow night.